Well, good morning to everyone. Thank you for being out here. My name is Mark Corral. I'm the president of Equal Protection South Carolina. I'm joined by our executive director, Matt Brock, somewhere in the crowd. I'm also joined by John Rice Cameron, who is the legislative liaison for the Foundation to Abolish Abortion. I'm also joined by many supporters, legislators, and many pastors from around the state that are here to speak on behalf of the preborn and to end legal abortion by protecting all preborn babies from the moment of conception and giving them equal protection of the laws. I'm going to open up with a few brief remarks, and then I'm going to hand it over to Senator Lee Bright to make an announcement. And then Representative Rob Harris is going to be speaking on the bill that he filed last year. And then we're going to turn it over to pro-life leader Abby Johnson, who made her way out here to Texas to speak on behalf of the preborn. Today and tomorrow will be landmarks for our battle to end legal abortion in South Carolina. The mission of Equal Protection South Carolina is to educate and mobilize Christians, to influence lawmakers, to end legalized abortion by passing laws that provide the equal protection of the laws for all preborn babies beginning at the moment of conception. It is an indisputable fact that human life begins at conception, which is fertilization. Therefore, the same assault and homicide laws that protect you and I as born people must be granted to all preborn babies. Abortion is murder and should be treated as such. No one, and I repeat, no one, should have the legal right to kill an unborn child, including a child's own father and mother. This is no longer a marginal position amongst voters. Just late last year, our organization published a joint statement with Personhood South Carolina, who is en route today, Executive Director Matt Clark. This joint statement details the biblical, historical, and constitutional position of equal protection. Our joint statement in just a small period of time was signed by conservative grassroots organizations around the state, many of which are here today, including Coastline Women's Center, Carter and Jeannie Smith, who stands with us today, Christian Action Network of Spartanburg, Love Life Greenville. Even many Republican county GOP parties signed this statement with us, including York, Spartanburg, and Greenville County GOPs. And over 50 pastors from around the state signed our joint coalition letter, with over 100 conservative grassroots leaders. In addition, our organization has garnered over 7,000 petitions, 7,000 petitions to abolish abortion from voters across the state. And let me tell you, conservative voters want to abolish abortion. Just a year and a half ago, two of the Republican sister senators, Penry Gustafson and Katrina Shealy, were ousted by their own voters because they were on the wrong side of this issue. More recently, Senator Lee Bright, he's held firm on this issue, and because of his uncompromising stance, literally hundreds of abortion abolitionist voters came to his side and knocked hundreds of doors to help him win the Republican primary election outright. Representative Rob Harris, who will speak here in a few moments, filed a bill of equal protection, House Bill 3537, which has a subcommittee hearing tomorrow. He has held firm on this issue, and because of his uncompromising stance, hundreds of abortion abolitionists from his district and around the state supported him in a stunning defeat over the establishment-backed challenger. Our General Assembly has a mandate from our King Jesus Christ to end the Holocaust of abortion and establish legal equal protection for every preborn baby without exception and without compromise. And we are here today to call on Senate and House leadership to abolish abortion in South Carolina. And we want to urge the leadership to stop passing bills that continue to regulate where, when, and how preborn babies can be killed under the law. Article 1, Section 3 of our own state constitution states this, quote, "Nor shall any person be deprived of life, liberty, or property without due process of law, nor shall any person be denied the equal protection of the laws. Bills of equal protection are the only biblical, constitutional, and logical position for those who claim to be pro-life. No one should have the legal right to kill a human being, both inside and outside the womb. Now, with that, I'd like to introduce the man, the myth, the legend, Senator Lee Bright.
I was elected back in 2008 the first time, and gave the maiden speech that senators get to give. And at the time, my wife was pregnant with our third child. I was raised out in the country and had older cousins, the youngest male cousin, and the way to achieve, basically to be able to spend time with the older cousins, you never cried. So I don't cry. I don't cry in public. It's something I don't do. So we went to have the ultrasound done. Both our children were out of school, our older children, and we found out the child had no heartbeat. So my wife for the first time and my children for the first time saw me cry. I will tell you, when I watched Unplanned, Abby Johnson's movie, it was a dark theater, so no one saw me cry, but I cried like a baby. These children deserve equal protection. I will be filing a bill of equal protection today. I know we've got hearts and minds to change. God's in the hearts and mind changing business. We're going to do our part. I'm going to do my small part in filing this bill today. But there's a lot more people with a lot more eloquent things to say. But I plan on filing a bill of equal protection today in the Senate. Thank you.
For those here, we do have a copy of our joint statement that outlines our position on equal protection with all of those that signed. Many of the legislators, we had multiple legislators sign this joint statement who are with us today, so I appreciate it. There's too many to name them. But now I want to introduce Representative Rob Harris. Representative Rob Harris filed our bill last year of equal protection and has a subcommittee hearing tomorrow in the Constitutional Laws Subcommittee, which is at 12 p.m. And we are urging leadership to pass that out favorably. So would you please welcome Representative Rob Harris.
Thank you, everyone. Thanks for coming. King David, the sweet psalmist of Israel, said to our Lord, "My substance was not hid from thee when I was made in secret and curiously wrought in the lowest parts of the earth. Thine eyes did see my substance, yet being unperfect, and in all thy members were written, which in continuance were fashioned, when as yet there was none of them." Clearly, life begins at conception and should be protected from that point on. In 2023, the legislature and governor revised the heartbeat law, which simply regulates abortion and makes it legal to kill certain preborn persons. Incredibly, in one section of that bill, it asserts that life begins at conception. But in another section, it writes into law where, when, and how someone may legally murder a baby in South Carolina. Besides giving legal permission for doctors to kill certain babies, the heartbeat bill actually gives the mother full protection against criminal or civil prosecution for the willful murder of her own baby as if she's a victim. At that time, I offered an equal protection bill on the House floor that would have applied South Carolina homicide code, which was spoken of before, equally to all people, but they voted it down. Because the heartbeat bill is inherently ineffective, the rate of preborn homicide in South Carolina is higher than pre-Roe levels, partly through out-of-state clinical abortions and mostly through chemical abortions and pills. Understanding this desperate situation with no intention on the part of the Republican House leadership to do anything about it, and in keeping with House rules, I requested a formal hearing on H. 3537, the South Carolina Prenatal Equal Protection Act, which brings us to tomorrow. The bill is scheduled for a 2-hour hearing in the Constitutional Laws Subcommittee at 12 o'clock. Historically, unwanted requests like mine are placed at the end of the agenda in an attempt to run out the clock so it doesn't get heard. But not so with our equal protection bill. It is one of only 2 bills on the agenda. It should be easy to allow at least 1 hour for each bill to be heard. In fact, if the equal protection bill were passed, there would be no need for passage of the first bill, the abortion-inducing drugs. It is equal protection's premise that murdering anyone should be illegal for everyone. It's the only bill that's consistent with God's word, the Constitution, and even the Republican Party platform. The 14th Amendment clearly states, as was said, no state shall deny to any person within its jurisdiction the equal protection of laws. The South Carolina Equal Protection Act would ensure that the same laws that protect born people protect unborn people. It's not complicated. The South Carolina Equal Protection Act is very straightforward. It takes out of Title 44 in the Health Code, because it's murder, it takes it out of there and puts it in the applicable Title 16 criminal codes. So Section 3 says South Carolina already has existing provisions making the willful killing of a person a crime, whether it be murder, manslaughter, involuntary manslaughter, homicide by child abuse. That means the same standards are of presumption, same standards for presumption of innocence, burden of proof, probable cause, aggravating, mitigating circumstances, all of those things that people are concerned about, and laws of parties all apply equally to all people. Section 3.6 defines fertilization. It does not prohibit IFV. It would require that human beings created through IFV be treated with proper standard of care, not intentionally destroyed. Section 3.105 is a duress clause. Under current case law, state law here, a person who is forced to commit a crime under a threat of imminent death or serious bodily injury is not guilty of committing that crime, right? But there is a current exception to that for murder. This bill allows a mother to claim duress. Legally speaking, the mother loses her agency when she has a gun to her head. So she should not be criminally accountable. Someone forces her. If she dies, they both die. There has to be an out for her in those situations. And then Section 3.107 says medical care of treatment provided to avert the death of a pregnant female that results in the accidental or unintentional injury or death of her unborn child is not a crime when all reasonable alternatives to save the life of the unborn child were attempted or none were available. I'm a nurse. I actually scrub in the operating room. I have assisted with ectopic pregnancies. I've assisted physically with my own hands taking care of like D&C, suction, miscarriage abortions. My wife and I have had 6 of them. I'm a healthcare provider, not the least bit concerned about getting sued or criminally, charged with anything, because it's not intentional. These babies have died in the womb already. That's a brief overview of the bill. We must end the innocent murder of the preborn. And if we do, there's hope. 2 Chronicles says, if my people, which are called by my name, shall humble themselves and pray and seek my face and turn, they got to turn from their wicked ways, then will I hear from heaven. I will forgive their sin and I will heal their land. Thank you.
I want to briefly recognize Mark Lynch, who is here to my right, your left. Mark Lynch is a Republican candidate running against Lindsey Graham. Our organization has endorsed him. Mark Lynch supports the equal protection of the laws for preborn versus Lindsey Graham, who wanted to pass a 15-week ban, which would do absolutely nothing to end abortion. So, Mark, you got just a...
Okay, thank you. I appreciate this. I'm asking Republicans to be Republicans again. We're a constitutional republic in America. We're not a democracy. Our forefathers signed that in the Declaration of Independence in 1776 and recognized we are endowed by our Creator with certain unalienable rights, the rights to life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. All the incrementalism that we've experienced in our state that considers itself a Bible Belt, all of the Republicans in office where we have the majority in this state house are cowards, and they're afraid to vote because they're voting concerning how their next vote will happen instead of following God's principles and being faithful and protecting life. When we passed the heartbeat bill last time, which is ridiculous, the abortion pills got legalized inside the pork in that bill. We're killing more babies than we did before the heartbeat bill. It's a shame. We need to be faithful, stand on our faith, hold our oath to our office, and protect against foreign or domestic enemies. And we have domestic enemies with abortion. And I want everybody to change their language. Abortion is murder. That's what it is. A rhino, a Republican in name only, is a traitor. We need people that will stand on their faith and do the right thing and vote with biblical principles and honor their oath in Congress. Thank you. Let's get this done today, and I hope all the Republicans in this State House are listening, and they'll be faithful and do the right thing with these real bills with equal protection. Thank you.
So our final person to speak I'll introduce is Abby Johnson, and then after we'll take questions. Abby Johnson went to work for Planned Parenthood, believing she could be helping women. After working her way up from volunteer to director of one of their facilities and even winning Planned Parenthood's Employee of the Year award, Abby had a surprising change of heart after witnessing a live ultrasound-guided abortion procedure. It became clear in that moment that abortion did not provide the freedom she had promised so many women in those counseling rooms. Abortion only caused harm, destruction, and devastation. Upon that realization, Abby left her job in the abortion industry and has been sharing her experience ever since. Her story was chronicled in the best-selling book titled Unplanned, which was later turned into a major motion picture with the same name that Senator Lee Bright mentioned. She has gone on to write several other books, including The Walls Are Talking and The Fierce Mercy. She is the CEO of 2 successful pro-life nonprofits, And Then There Were None and Pro-Love Ministries. She also hosts her own podcast, Politically Rude. I like the name of that. One of Abby's ministries, And Then There Were None, has helped over 700 abortion workers leave the abortion industry and come into a saving relationship with Jesus Christ. I got to witness that this morning as she spoke to Planned Parenthood volunteers outside the abortion mill just minutes from here, and it was wonderful to see that. But Abby's greatest blessing in her is her vocation of wife and mother. She lives in Texas with her husband and 8 beautiful children. Please welcome Abby Johnson.
Thank you. Thank you. It really is an honor to be here with all of you in South Carolina. I love the 4 pro-abortion protesters that are here. I hope the media makes sure to get a good overview of what we actually see here in the Capitol today. You've got less than a handful of pro-abortionists, and you have an entire hall full of people who are calling for equal protection of the unborn. So when you get your photo op and you get your pictures, you make sure that you get the pictures accurate. You make sure that you get an accurate representation of what you see here in the South Carolina legislature. You have a state that is calling for equal protection. You do not have a state that is calling for the murder of babies. You have a state that is calling for the abolition of abortion. I have a lot of things I can say today. I am a woman who has had 2 abortions. I've murdered 2 of my own children by abortion, selfishly. It was women have abortions at a time of weakness, not at a time of power. They have abortions at their weakest moment, their most vulnerable moment. Women don't want to have abortions. They have abortions because many times they feel like they have no other option because society has told them this is an easy option. They've told them that this is the best option for them, that murdering their baby is the best option. And we in the pro-life movement, for some reason, have allowed that to be an excuse. And now we have a real problem in the pro-life movement. And I'm going to lay out that problem for you. And I'm going to be honest with you. I'm going to tell you the problem is exacerbated by many of the pro-life organizations right here in your own state. The largest one, South Carolina Citizens for Life, is exacerbating the problem here in South Carolina. That's right. Yep. Your supposed pro-life organization. They're causing the problem. They're the reasons. If there will be a reason that this bill does not make it across the finish line and get to your governor's desk this session, it will be not because of Democrats. Right. It will be because of Republicans. Right. And everybody here needs to know that and hear that. It will not be because the Democrats said, oh, well, okay, we'll compromise with you. No, it will be because of the Republicans who said, we actually don't want to end abortion in South Carolina. I'm a woman who's had 2 abortions. Those abortions led me into a life of working inside of an abortion facility, a Planned Parenthood abortion facility. I went on then to help other women murder their babies. 22,000 babies, more than 22,000 babies were murdered under my watch at my Planned Parenthood facility in Texas. That is a lifelong, eternal stain on my soul. I will have earthly consequences because of those decisions that I made in my life. Yes, Jesus Christ has forgiven me of those sins. Yes, God's goodness is great. But our decisions do not go without consequence. Women who have abortions often face many consequences. Women who have abortions sometimes face infertility. Women who have abortions sometimes face a higher suicide rate. Women who have abortions face higher rates of anxiety, depression, eating disorders, premature birth weight for future pregnancies, low birth weight, premature birth, many complications that are all documented in peer-reviewed medical literature. There are many possible consequences. And what this bill is bringing forward is another possible consequence. If a woman has an abortion, there could be a possible consequence that she could lose her freedom. That's one of many consequences. That's a legitimate consequence for murder. If abortion would have been legally deemed murder in my state of Texas, I would have never put my body on that table. Amen. And neither would any of you women. Because the threat of jail time, the threat of that consequence is too great for the risk. It's too great a risk for most women. It's too great a risk for most families. And dare I say that many women who are now using abortion as a form of birth control, and most are, I say that many of these women would no longer participate in reckless sexual activity if they knew that abortion was not an easy fix for their pregnancies. I went out to your local abortion facility today in Columbia, just down the street. Women there going to get abortions, dancing in the parking lot, excited to get their abortions today. These are not victims. Women who have abortions are not victims. When I worked in the abortion facility, we had women who had 12, 15, 16 abortions. These are not victims. I do believe in bodily autonomy for all, including the unborn. We have a real problem in the pro-life movement, friends. We have a real problem. In states like mine, in Texas, we have men who are now drugging their girlfriends giving them chemical abortion pills. They're so easily available now. And we have men that are drugging their girlfriends and their wives and women that they know that they impregnate, and they're giving them drugs. They're slipping these drugs into their drinks, into their orange juice, into their sodas. And these women are drinking the chemical abortion pills, and they're aborting their babies. They're miscarrying their babies unknowingly. And the pro-life movement, South Carolina Citizens for Life and National Right to Life and other groups like them are calling out, and they're saying that is murder. That is murder. If a man drugs a woman's drink and she miscarries that baby and he murders that baby, that is murder. And they're right. That is murder. But now the pro-life movement sounds like a bunch of pro-abortionists, don't we? Because it's perfectly fine if the woman herself puts that same drug into her drink and kills that same baby. It's not okay if her boyfriend does it. Same baby, same drug, same woman. If the baby is wanted, it's a problem. If the baby is unwanted, she's just a victim. We have a problem, friends. And the only way to rectify this problem in this state and around this country is to pass equal protection bills. Yes. That is the only way to rectify this problem. And any Republican legislator who dares not co-sponsor this bill, shame on you. Shame on you. You should be primaried and you should lose your seat. Amen. And I am going to be here in the Capitol today, and I'm going to be having those hard conversations with these legislators. And if you do not sign on to this bill, you will be publicly named, you will be publicly shamed, and you will be at threat of losing your office. Yes. Yes. And I am also very thankful for you being here, and I do want to announce that you also have my endorsement, and I hope that we are able to get these Republicans in name only, like Lindsey Graham, out of office. Amen. Let's get actual conservatives. We do have something to conserve in this country, and it is biblical values, Christian values, family values. They still matter. They still matter in this country. They do still matter. And we are here to stand up for them. Thank you all so much for being here.
I just want to briefly recognize Matt Clark, the Executive Director of Personhood. I mentioned him earlier. He's a partner of our organization, supporting equal protection, and doing great work. Senator Richard Cash was going to speak, but he has caucus meeting. I know there's another caucus meeting here shortly. But we'll go ahead and open it up to questions. So there's one or two, just as a biblical and as a pastor, that's a mistranslation of the word. The abdomen would swell. So there are some the Bible translations that misinterpret that word. If you look at the original, to get theological, if you look at the original Hebrew word, it has nothing to do with causing an abortion. It is a judgment upon the person that's lying, and there is a consequence for that. But it's not to be taken as, hey, that means God endorses abortion. So thanks for the question. Next question. Any questions for Representative Harris or Abby Johnson, we must have covered it all then. So, all right, well, thank you all for coming out. We'll be around. Abby will be around today. We appreciate you coming out, and please, please, please support equal protection. God bless. Thank you.
Yes, sir.